What's up, guys? Eric Leitten, Emerald Coast Abode realtor, covering Panama City Beach all the way to Destin, Florida. Part-time gopher at What's Up Beach Vacation Rentals. And today I'm rehashing a YouTube video title that I did at the beginning of the year. Watch this before you buy a condo in Panama City Beach. A lot has happened since the beginning of the year in the economy. So in this video, I want to break down kind of what's going on at the top level of the US economy. We call that the macroeconomic factors that are affecting housing here locally. I want to talk about some interesting facts on migration patterns that are occurring in Florida, and then I'm going to jump into Panama City Beach specifics. So stay tuned, we're jumping right into it. We know that one of the driving factors for the state of our economy is inflation. Post-COVID, a lot of money was put into the economy and that really heated up demand. Unless you've been stranded on a desert island, you're probably pretty familiar that there's a lot of inflation in the market and the government is working with the Fed to raise rates and to cool down the economy. One thing that I wanted to jump into, the CPI number, and just do a quick breakdown of what that looks like. The CPI is a basket of goods ranging from everything from gasoline to shelter, transportation, energy services. So you see all these numbers, they're all factored in and averaged out to give us that CPI number. In March, it was lowered down to 5%. So some of the Fed's actions of raising that prime rate is having an effect on the CPI, which is good. This chart here is from Bankrate, and it shows the progression of mortgage rates over the period from when the Fed started to raise rates. So the mortgage rate don't necessarily follow the federal funds rate in lockstep, but it definitely affects it and there's upward pressure on it. We were hoping to see some relief, those bank failures. We had SBV, Signature Bank. During a recession, oftentimes interest rates go down. Now that that concern has somewhat subsided on the banks, or a larger problem with banks having liquidity problems, the rates actually increased. Last week they were 6.4. This week they are 6.61, and this is the average rate across the United States for a 30-year fixed mortgage. And you can see the progression being quite steep from kind of the latter half of 2022 moving into 2023 as the Fed stair-stepped their rate up, so mortgage rates went along with it. The next slide that we're going to look at here, discussing the likelihood of a recession. And there are critics that say, hey, they have ratcheted the rate up too quickly and too much in a short period of time, and it's overstressed the economy. And we saw some of those commercial type banks, some people call them shadow banks, like SVB, increase in rates caused pressure on their liquidity, and there was a run on the bank, and that caused the bank to fail. There's a group of economists that put on their pointy hats and meet. I believe the association is called the NABE. The question is, what is the likelihood of a recession in 2023? Well, over half of the economists that were polled thought that there was more than a 50% chance that we were going to run into a recession in the next 12 months. And a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. We haven't seen that specific definition yet, but they're expecting to see that within the next 12 months with a greater chance than a coin flip. Got inflation down. We talked about the progression of mortgage rates and the likelihood of a recession. A lot of doom and gloom at the beginning of this video. We're segueing now into why this relates and how it relates to Florida real estate. So we're going to get into some good statistics because Florida real estate is poised for some resiliency, in my opinion, and we're going to hit you with some statistics here on that front. The first thing I want to look at is the net migration. So you may have heard of this. Florida is the #1 state in the country as of March 29th, 2023. You know, not too long ago. This is last month's statistics from the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. We are the #1 in the country in net migration, meaning we have more people coming to live here than going. Texas is right behind us. That is resiliency to a potential recession. So this is a supply issue. So you see the headline down below is from CNN, but there's multiple news outlets that reported on this. Basically, we're short about 6.5 million homes being built. During the rate crunch, as what's happening right now with the Fed raising rates, builders have definitely slowed way down because they see this period as a lull in sales. And overall, in the counties that I work, sales are down about 30-40%. people are kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for a more opportunistic time to purchase because mortgage rates are high. It's not the most affordable endeavor to buy a house at 6.6% right now. So there's some people on the sidelines. Maybe they're locked into a smaller house at like a 3% interest rate, and they don't want to trade up into a bigger house, bigger payment, and much larger interest rate. So I think there's a lot of that going on. So sales are kind of at a lull because of the lending situation right now. So with that said, there's this underlying factor across the United States and specifically in Florida that we are in an inventory shortage. That's a national statistic. 6.5 million homes were short. And this stems back from 2008 when we did have a real estate driven Great Recession and the builders and contractors went bankrupt. Like there was a whole generation of builders that were wiped out or that maybe didn't get into that profession. So our building over that course of time from 2008 to present hasn't been as aggressive as it would have been if there was no recession. We would be properly supplied right now. And we saw some teeth in 2020 and post-COVID because there was really high demand for people to get into a different living situation, and part of that was driven by really cheap mortgages. So there was like a hyper demand for homes, and then we saw some real problems with multiple offers and just there not being enough supply. Well, the good news now is that supply is coming back somewhat, and it shows the history since 2006 of the supply in Florida. So we were running for multiple years at around 140 to 160,000 homes on the market at any given time in the state of Florida. You can see when that hyper aggressive demand built up during COVID, and you saw that inventory drop really fast to around 60,000, lower than 20,000 listings on the market in early 2022. Now that the rates have increased, we're getting back to more of a healthy level, about 90,000 to 80,000 listings on the market right now. And we're still, in my market, we're still in a shortage. So this next set of details came from a site called Keeping Current Matters, and I believe this data was sourced from CoreLogic, which is an analytics company for properties. But it talks about what real estate prices have done in the past 6 recessions. So we all know, and we kind of have recency bias on the 2008 recession. It was driven by mortgage defaults and these collateralized debt obligations, really exotic debt instruments that were being utilized, and the failing of those mortgages. So it was real estate driven. So we saw a crash in the real estate market. So everybody has recency bias with that, but that's definitely not the normal. During a recession, actually real estate's resilient, and for the most part, the prices have risen, and in some cases considerably. In 2020, we had COVID. That was labeled a recession. It was a 6% increase. And the only other time it was negative was 1991, and it didn't even go below a 2% drop in price. So recessions typically don't mean declines in real estate prices. So in that same vein, what did mortgage rates do in the past 6 recessions? Well, every single time rates decreased, sometimes considerably. The fact that we're likely to go into a recession means that, hey, the economy's cooled off to the point where the Fed can back down and step down their rates, and then we'll have more affordable mortgages. All right, now let's get into some of the Panama City Beach PCB details, and probably the reason that you tuned into this video. Now, you hear me talk about Panama City Beach and why it's different. I've talked about this in almost every video, but I'm going to say it again. It's a unique market that has something for everyone. It has high rises, mid-rise, low rise, and in some of the other coastal market, Destin 30A, the zoning is very restricted. PCB is one of the first movers on the short-term rental game before Airbnb or VRBO even existed. So it's a mature rental market, has a diverse platform of properties, something for everybody. If you're a low-key person, you hate crowds, or something for you in a low rise or one of these more horizontal communities. If you like action and a ton of pools and things like that, there's a lot of high-rise resorts. And the fact that there are those high-rise resorts, it keeps inventory high and it keeps prices pretty stable. There's enough attractions and it's a mature market to the point where the rent is good for the purchase price even still. So with that said, I wanted to get into this article that was recently published. It was ranking PCB as the second most affordable spring break destination in the country. Now I know PCB gets a little bit of a bad rep for the spring break, and there's been some problems with people partying and groups congregating on the beach. The city has done a pretty good job limiting drinking, actually eliminating drinking completely on the beach during the month of March, and that has stemmed a lot of the craziness and horseplay and nonsense that we've seen, which is good. And I think things have cleaned up quite a bit. I was down on the beach a lot with my wife, helping out with her rentals, and things were good down on the beach for the most part this year. So I think their efforts are good on that front. But really the core of the matter here is, hey, recession, is it a good time to buy? Well, hey, we talked about some factors in Florida. There's an underlying supply issue that I think is going to buoy prices. There's a potential for a recession and a good chance that during that recession we're going to see some relief on the mortgage rate. Panama City now we're in one of the most affordable places on the coast here in Florida to go to spring break. And I think that's echoed through the whole season, that you're going to find more reasonable rental rates in Panama City Beach, and that's going to drive crowds. And I like Panama City Beach. I have 2 condos there as an investor. The reason I like it is because the purchase price to the rental production ratio is better than anywhere else around. That's why I invest there. It's a busier market. I would prefer to be on a secluded island somewhere, but I'm not a multi-billionaire that can afford an island, so I have a condo in PCB. So I feel like it's more of an inelastic market. If we do get into a recession and people stop traveling, less flights out to really high-end places, but people are still going to drive to the beach in Panama City Beach and have their vacation because it's affordable. So let's get into some of the Panama City Beach specific analytics. We're pulling data from MLS for the month of March 2023. This is month ending data. So number of listings was way down, like below 600, like 500 in April 2022. Now they've increased to a much more healthy level. We're at around 1,100, 1,150 listings. So more units to choose from, more possibilities for buyers, which is great. Listing price has, it's a mixture. What's selling more, that is factored into the equation. Not as important, just kind of what is kind of the mid-range of the market. The next point here is the absorption rate in months. So this is one of the most critical things. This is really determine if we're in a buyer's or seller's market. It's how fast buyers are eating up the inventory that's on the market. The inventory that's on the table essentially is rated in months. And the lower the month's inventory, the heavier we are in a seller's market. So you can see this time last year, we only had about a month and a half of inventory, which is not good. It's not good for buyers. It's very inflationary, and it's a bad shortage situation of housing supply is when you have inventory that low. So the rates have gone up. Sales have fallen since last year. It was a fever pitch. It was definitely a situation. A lot of people knew that rates were probably going to get risen, and they were buying up a lot of real estate and eating up inventory quicker than homes were listed. But now that the sales have slowed due to the increased mortgage rates, tightening of condo guidelines, we're at like a 4-month inventory, and that's been pretty steady for the whole year of 2023. 6 months is even market. That means that buyers and sellers' interests are kind of even on the teeter-totter, if you will. 4 months, we're still in seller market territory. As you can see here, we're not really seeing a huge spike in inventory. When we see a huge spike in inventory, that's when you see a reduction in prices. For example, 2008, inventory was 12 months. That was a hard buyer's market. We're still in a seller's market, people. Where is this crash going to come from? There's nothing that signals to me that the real estate market's going to crash. We have no supply. in PCB. In Florida, we're still running at, in all of Florida, we're still running at a limited supply. It's likely we're going into a recession. For a lot of people feel like we are, where it's very likely the mortgage rates will see some relief in that fact. So what do you think is going to happen to inventory that's already short when interest rates go down? That inventory is going to get eaten up and prices may go up. You know, will they go up again and appreciate like 2022? It might be more of a slower climb because we'll probably do a stair step down on the prime rate and mortgage rates will slowly lower as we get deeper into, you know, poor economic territory or negative GDP, the pure definition of a recession. So my thought is that this is a great time to maybe look at buying something, even though you're going to be saddled with a higher interest rate. You know, that can be changed in the future. There are costs associated with that, but my last metric here is very important. So you can kind of see in the lower right-hand side of this chart, the sold to list ratio. So this is really a measurement of what buyers' negotiating power have been off of the list price. So list to sold price. So what did the property actually sell for versus what it was listed for? So you can kind of see that we were up near 98, 99% in 2022, but as the rates have increased, that sold to list ratio has come down quite a bit, around 93%, and then coming back up. You know, it's March, it's kind of season, we're at like 94, 95% now, but that's a 5% off list price. So buyers have a little bit more power now because of the interest rate, because the sales have slowed down about 30%. Buyers have more power. Properties are sitting on the market longer. You look at properties, they've been on the market like 200 days, 250 days. You're going to get some discount off of that purchase price if that seller is really wanting to sell. Now, if that every sales arrangement is very specific, there may be a seller that's just stubborn and, you know, he doesn't need to sell right now, he's just testing. And that happens in second home market. So you got to be willing to, you know, play the market, look at a few properties, you know, feel it out. But negotiations are being had, and there is negative pull on prices. Buyers have more negotiating power, much more than they did last year. When will rates come down? It's going to take some time, but like, do I see the bottom falling out of this market? The fundamentals just aren't there. So I'm sorry for those that are waiting on the sidelines hoping for a crash. I just don't see it. It's not in the numbers. It's not in the fundamental economic aspects of what's happening now. And I just wanted to put this on video to get some insight on the matter. All right, I hope you liked this video. As you guys know me, if you watched a few of my videos, I like to lead with analytics. My name's Eric Leitten. I'm with Emerald Coast Abode. I'm a real estate agent on this beautiful Emerald Coast. All my contact information is in the description of this video. So please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're interested in short-term rental, the coastal real estate market here in beautiful Panama City Beach to Destin, Florida. What we do is a little different. My wife owns a short-term rental management company. I help on the front end locating that short-term rental that's going to be productive, that is going to cover the mortgage. We kind of have a holistic service going here, from the onset of the sale to servicing the rental. So if you have any questions and you want to reach out to me directly, I've been doing consultations with many folks from YouTube recently. So just reach out to me, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. Let's connect. Again, Eric Leitten, Emerald Coast Abode, over and out.